So I heard a voice as I'm walking that said to me, you're not going to get to the level that God has intended for you in life without
African Americans are not moving to Africa for opportunity per se, but many are moving for psychological freedom. What's your view on that?
But it's very different just being a black person in a white world, where you know as you begin to go to school that the Constitution still says you're 3/5 of a person. You know that just 200 years ago people were being lynched. I mean, you see the police killing people. Like, there's a certain pressure of just being a black person in America. I'm going to make moves based on the things I don't want to happen to me. But when I came here, I could go out of my way to find out. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it, yeah. So since you moved to Ghana,
10 years.
10 years, your search, your quest, your awakening, all the spiritual, emotional, psychological reasons why you moved, how do you feel right now?
So great. Well, one of the things, there's a quote that says the journey is the reward.
You really think you couldn't have done this in the US?
Done what? But since you're talking about psychology, imagine the psychology of a person who's done everything they can to harm you, to kill you, to put you down, to prevent you from succeeding, and you still succeed.
Right.
That person has to keep a foot on your neck because they think you're going to be like them. I said, Ghana is more mine than it is yours because I do more for the country than you do. So you sit down.
So you're welcome to Connected Minds podcast. My name is Derek, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you make it to the end, I would love to know in the comments. Don't forget that on the 9th of September, we're going to Kumasi or say Chrome for Connected Minds Live. So if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, business person yourself, and you want to be in the rooms that can network and connect with people, then grab a ticket. It's going to be in the description for you. My guest today is Diallo Sumbry. Now, he is the president and the CEO of the Adinkra Group. This is the company that connects African diaspora to the continent through cultural exchange, small business development. So if you're thinking of moving back home, this is the conversation for you. It's going to be packed with, we're going to talk about the African identity compared to the West, the race, wealth, investment opportunities, money, as I usually like to talk about. And this is the company that has helped over 1,000 African Americans to move back to Africa. And I hope this conversation, my audience, find value in it because I've been meaning to have this conversation for a very long time. I haven't had a diaspora conversation in a while. So this is going to be it for me. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And
I've been waiting for this conversation too, so I'm ready.
And I forgot to mention that you are Nana as well.
Yes.
So you are the Nkoswahine for
Yame Betre.
Yame Betre.
Right. Pim.
Man, if I put you on the spot.
Don't start speaking trees. Don't do that to me right now.
I was going to ask, have you started speaking in a tree yet? But I'm sure it's the Accra. That's good.
But when I learn tree, I've decided I won't tell anybody. I need to listen into a few conversations.
Because you think people might be speaking about you?
I know they are. So I want to just listen first before I actually speak.
What do you think people say?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Your instinct is not telling you anything.
Nothing.
Right. So your first time in Africa was 1988.
1988 in Senegal.
Yep. What brought you to Africa?
So my mother, my parents came out of the 1960s Black Power movement. So most people know that the same time the African independence movement was happening, the civil rights was happening in America.
Okay.
Right? So Ghana's 57. We got the Civil Rights Acts of 1965. All of those things were happening at the same time. And my parents were part of that group of people who chose Black Power and understanding that African identity was something that was important.
How did it ever become a thing in the family?
Well, my mom started taking African dance classes. My father was against apartheid. So it's like so many black people were seeing the injustices against black people in the U.S., and they also were seeing the same thing in the continent. So my mother got involved in cultural arts, West African drumming, dancing, things like that. So my first time in Senegal in 1988, I performed with a group called Maimouna Keita Dance Theater out of New York. And we went to Senegal to perform with the National Ballet of Senegal at the Sorano Theater. So that was 88. I went to Senegal. I'm a drummer. Most people don't know that, so I can play. But my son and my brother are so much better drummers. So it's like, I can drum, but I'm not a drummer.
How old were you at the time when you went to Senegal?
88. How was I, 13?
Okay.
And then I went again in 90, 91, again to Senegal.
Let's stick to the first one.
Okay.
Right. So, what were you thinking though when you first got to Africa?
I was thinking about time because I have an African name.
Okay.
I was born with an African name. I went to an independent African-centered school from kindergarten through 5th grade. I've been to enough African events. I'm playing African drums. I'm wearing African clothes. So
At 13.
yeah, well, from birth. There is a segment of Black America that have Pan-African thought and who raise their children in such a way, either through cultural identity, spiritual identity. So there are a lot of people who grew up with African names. So at the same time that Black kids and white kids and other people in America was calling African children African booty scratchers, they was calling us African booty scratchers too.
I see.
Because you ain't know the difference, right? You really don't know the difference. You see a Black kid, nappy hair, with a dashiki on, right?
But
it's something different.
Yeah, but during these times, had anyone in your family done the ancestry test?
No.
To figure out?
Not at all. At the time, I don't even know if it was available and if it existed. But in terms of African identity, my mother was very clear from the beginning in terms of movement, in terms of spirit, in terms of rhythm, in terms of our bone structure, in terms of our melanated, in terms of who we are, that we are an African people. Like, that was never a question in my household. It was also never a question whether or not Africa was a country.
Okay.
Like, we grew up understanding Africa was a continent. We grew up in school doing drills, having to name every African country, every capital city, major rivers, oceans, lake, just understanding that Africa, for lack of a better word, was a term that we could use, but that at some point, you weren't African, you were Fulani, or you were Yoruba,
Right.
or you were Hausa.
Right. Was there anybody in the family at the time that had moved to Africa, tried to move to Africa?
I'm still the only one that moved, which we'll get to. But yeah, no. It was just traveling and connecting. But so it was always there. So for me, I was excited. You're 13. I went with all my siblings. There were other members of the drum and dance group, right? I had a crush on one of them, so I was happy to go. Right? So it's like you're traveling, and we were a youth company, right? We were a youth company based out of New York. I lived in Trenton, New Jersey. So every Sunday, we went up to New York for rehearsal, for practice. So it's just like going on any other trip,
Yeah.
right? You get to go with other people your age, and it's exciting.
And Ghana, when was the time when you thought about Ghana?
Ghana's interesting because I actually didn't think about Ghana,
Okay.
right? A lot of my friends and family were coming back and forth to Ghana. And I'm like, y'all keep your Ghana. I got Senegal. I have Mali. I have my spot. Y'all got y'all spot. And then my first time in Ghana was 2014.
Huh? Okay.
So I didn't touch ground until 2014 at all. Now, mind you, my wife, her first time in Ghana was 2003.
Right. So what brought you to Ghana?
Spirituality.
What you mean?
Okay, so my teacher, who I first came to Ghana with in 2014, he is the Akomfohene of the Nana Surgery Shrine.
Okay,
in
how
Latte.
did you meet him?
I met him in Washington, D.C. He lives in D.C.
Okay.
So he lives in D.C. But again, I told you I grew up in this Pan-African household. I told you we grew up with this cultural identity, drumming and dancing. So there are small pockets in New York, in D.C., in California, in Ohio, in Texas, of Black people who raise their children with an African identity, who raise their children with African cultural norms, who raise their children studying, learning, and practicing African spirituality.
Right.
So the Akan way of life, the Yoruba way of life, the Kemetan way of life. These things are not foreign to every Black person. So I didn't learn about Akwesidai when I came to Ghana.
You learned it prior to.
I knew what Akwesidai was. Now, I didn't learn how to calculate it till I went through my spiritual training. I didn't learn more about Akwesidai, Ukudai, Fofiadai, and how that relates to the cosmos, and I would say the African science of spirituality. I didn't learn that until I went through my training. But what brought me to Ghana was me studying, me meeting my... So let me take 2 steps back. I'm walking down the street. If anybody from D.C. is watching this, they'll know because I lived on 13th and Upshur Street Northwest. And the 50 bus ran up and down 14th Street, which is on the other end. And one day, I am coming from the bus stop. And at this time, I smoked hella weed. So I think I'm super high, right? Probably smoked 2 blunts or something. So I heard a voice as I'm walking that said to me, "You're not going to get to the level that God has intended for you in life without spiritual discipline." This is like maybe 2005. Heard it clear as day. I wasn't tripping. It wasn't It wasn't the marijuana. It was a voice that was very, very clear. I'm not questioning what I heard. I just said, okay, and kept walking. Like, I'll get there. So some years later, when I decided to begin seeking what I heard, spiritual discipline, I began seeking. So I went to all of the various traditional shrine houses in DC, New York that I know of, right? I even went and explored some Yoruba tradition, which I hadn't had a close-up view to it.
Right.
I went and spent time in a church with my grandmother and my great aunt in New Jersey. I have Muslim friends. I spent time in the mosque. So I went to vet. Okay, Diallo is now going to enter this spiritual transformation. So where will I go and what will I do? And I've always considered myself to be somewhat special. So I needed to vet it, and I wanted to treat it almost like a job. I'm just not going to join anything, because if I understand that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience versus a human being having a spiritual experience in life, then this is going to be the next phase of me. And if I clearly heard a voice saying I won't get to the level God has intended for me. Now, mind you, I'd already been through enough in my life where I knew that I was spared for a reason. So now it's like, okay, what is this raison d'etre? What is the reason why I'm here? Why was I born at this time? What will I do with my life? Which is also very central to Akan cosmology, that each person is born with a soul. They call it Sunsum. And your mission in life is to figure out what your job here is, right? Which also goes back to Adinkra and how Adinkra was used pre-colonial times. So it's the message you take back to God when you die. What were you born for? What were you here to do? So once I discovered that through my teacher, Nana Yorenchi, then that's what brought me to Ghana in 2014 to complete my training.
Something must have been happening in your life for you to have heard that voice, for you to have been preparing yourself almost to even hear that voice.
Well, so growing up in D.C., I've had a number of close friends pass away to gun violence, people that were close, had near instances myself. The majority of it was due to my own stupidity. In school, it was like I always had really good grades, but I was always in trouble, kind of thing. And I think I've always had really good potential. And I think people, my teachers and the different people who poured into me over time was like, yo, you can be somebody, kind of thing, right? It's kind of funny.
But you couldn't see it.
Yeah. So, and I got married early and young. I had children. My son and my daughter were born. My son was born when I was 21. My daughter came 4 years later. I was married. So it's like, eventually, you got to stop playing around, right? I finished school, graduated, went to grad school. So it's like, well, what are we doing? Like, what is it that we're doing? Am I going to take this normal trajectory of take my job and just go up the ranks and then figure it out? Because none of that was really of interest. Like, I always even knew the reason I even went to graduate school was so that if, in case I needed a job in my lifetime to take care of my family, I could demand a certain salary. It wasn't like, oh, I love this thing and I'm going to do that. It's like I got the undergraduate degree, and it's like, okay, I got a son, wife, my daughter's coming. Let me go to grad school so that I can earn more money if I need to, right? But that's not a purposeful life. It kind of stops there. So when you're seeking, doors open.
I want to read something to you. Mm-hmm. Doing a lot of research about why African Americans, in particular, moved to Africa. And what I discovered is very similar to what you are describing. And the statement goes, African Americans are not moving to Africa for opportunity per se, but many are moving for psychological freedom. What's your view on that?
Psychological freedom. I would agree. And I don't necessarily say that everybody's not moving for opportunity, but I think the pressure.
Pressure from where?
Of being a black person in America. Most of us don't know what it feels like to just be a person. So you don't know the experience of the reality of existence being in the majority as a natural thing. If you grew up in Ghana, you grew up around black people. So whether you are Ashanti, Akan, Fanti, Ewe, that's a different experience in terms of majority minority, right? But it's very different just being a black person in a white world, where as you begin to go to school, that the Constitution still says you're 3/5 of a person. You know that just 200 years ago, people were being lynched. I mean, you see the police killing people. There's a certain pressure of just being a black person in America. The country was built on your back. So psychologically, naturally, you're going to have this weight and this pressure of just survival. It's like, how do I even get to thriving? How do I get to thriving? Because I got to survive first. So I'm just trying to make my way. I'm just trying to stay out the way. I have something that I used to say to people. I used to say, when I was living in the U.S., I did my best to stay out of the way, right? Just let me stay out the way. I don't want to get pulled over by police. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's like, I'm going to make moves based on the things I don't want to happen to me and then try to find my way. But when I came here, I could go out of my way to find my way. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it, yeah.
I can go out of my way to make my way. I don't have to stay out of the way to make my way. Because when I'm walking down the street from the first time I was in the Trocho, you don't know that I'm not one of you until I start talking. So nobody in the Trocho knew that I was from the U.S. till my phone rang. And I was like, what up? Yeah. Now I'm on this joint called the Trocho. I'm headed to the village. Yeah, my network probably going to be bad, so I'm going to hit you back when I get there. Now, you know how the Trocho is close quarters. So when everybody on the Trocho hear me on the phone, now they know I'm not Ghanaian or I'm not an indigenous African. But before then, you don't know. No matter how I'm dressed, no matter what it is, you can look at my head shape, how I'm dressed and all that, but you don't really know. I'm just one of you. So having the experience of just being one of us definitely relieves a big weight off of people who are used to carrying an extra weight. And I just want to be really, really, really clear because I think I'm at the point in my life where I understand this so well. It also can borderline an excuse. And I want to be clear that they're very, very different.
Is this your reality or the norm for many African Americans?
It's the norm for many of us. For most of us, it's the norm.
It's impossible to rise as an African American in America?
You can't say impossible. First off, I wasn't doing bad
Yeah.
when I moved here. So it's not that you can't rise. And it's not that you can't do well. It's not that you can't make money. You'll even hear the African American billionaires and multimillionaires talk about how many doors are closed to them. You'll hear it. You'll hear Robert F. Smith talk about it. You'll hear, what's his name, Byron, when he was trying to buy, what's his last name? He was trying to buy the Weather Channel. Like, you'll hear African-American millionaires, multimillionaires, hundreds of millions of dollars, and billionaires talk about how they're still shut out of certain rooms, right? They kind of see a little bit beyond simple white supremacy and racism, but they understand how being a black person affects you. So just think about it. You might have one or two black people who make it to a certain level. Why is only one or two? You think only one or two of those have the talent? Or you think it's something else? And don't get me started with what's happening in the U.S. right now. Like, they're literally going back 250 years. 2026, the United States will celebrate 250 years of existence. It's 250 years old. And under the current president, gerrymandering, like, they literally are redrawing district lines so voting could... Like, what's happening right now is literally a reverse of any and all of improvements that America has made towards race relations, if you would say that there were improvements, but they're now being erased. And it's literally, somebody just saw on the news that the current president just literally fired and removed every top black officer in his government cabinet or around. Why? And most of the result is just because they were black. But since you're talking about psychology, imagine the psychology of a person who's done everything they can to harm you, to kill you, to put you down, to prevent you from succeeding, and you still succeed.
Right.
That person has to keep a foot on your neck because they think you're going to be like them. They think you are going to do to them what they've done to you. So I got to keep you down. I can't even give you a chance for retribution.
I think recently our president, the current Ghanaian president, was speaking about, I'm not exactly sure whether...
Reparations.
Yeah, whether we should talk about this, but that's why I paused a bit.
Yeah.
You know, what's your view on that? Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Connected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
I mean, it's we'd have to have a whole episode on it, but I think what he did was historic. I think it was a very important, necessary step for the UN to declare the transatlantic slave trade the greatest crime against humanity. It needed to happen.
Apart from that, does it help our brothers who are still facing some of the things they are facing currently? Does it help? Does this conversation help?
On the surface, no.
Okay.
Does it help the black person who can't get a job? No.
Okay.
In America, no. Does it help the single mother who's struggling to feed? No. Does it help remove the racism that is embedded in standardized testing to go to college? No. Does it? No, it doesn't stop any of that.
Okay.
It's a future conversation.
Right. So what benefit is it going to be for the average person that needs to get their head up the waters where they are?
Well, everything can't be for right now. So I don't think it serves a benefit for the average person right now. But do I think it could serve their grandchildren? Yes.
How?
Well, if the UN, the United Nations, has first recognized the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity, and if there's proper follow-up for maybe another generation or two, and if those declarations and laws could somehow convince or encourage the U.S. government and other governments to change some of their policies to make it more equitable, then it can change. It's a lot of ifs.
Right. So we're a long way away from that.
I think we're a long way away from the change that you will see to the average person on the ground. I mean, think about it. Like, how does it affect the average Ghanaian? We're a long way from the way it will affect the average Ghanaian. Because there was two sides of colonization. You have the transatlantic slave trade. And what I often like to tell my brothers and sisters from the diaspora is that while we had one experience, you also can't fathom the experience of being colonized on your own land. So we were taken away, our languages were taken away, our culture was taken away, our identity was taken away, and we were taken to a whole new geographical place, right? And then we fought our way out of that. That's an experience. But it's a different experience standing on your grandfather's soil, speaking the same language that the person who killed your grandfather spoke, wearing his clothes, going to his church. Knowing that the church was built over some of your most sacred sites that your grandmother and your grandfather and your great-great-grandparents worship. That's a different set of experiences that we won't know what it feels like because we didn't have that experience, right? And it's not an oppression Olympics. It's not which one is worse, but they are two very different experiences. That's just reality.
Yeah. You've just described, again, very similar to what the conversation I had with Judah. I'm having several light bulb moments, right? As you're speaking and you're describing some of the things you're describing and the whole spiritual awakening, really looking to define really who you are. You used to have friends and relatives back in the U.S.
Of course. I'm the only member of my natal family that lives here.
How do they feel about this?
About me living here?
Yeah.
Well, they love it. Well, they know that so it's like reconnaissance. Someone has to go do reconnaissance. Someone has to go ahead and do the scouting. So when I talk about living a purposeful life, I realized that that was going to be my job.
And how long have you been in Ghana?
I've been in Ghana since 2014, pretty much. Well, 2014, I came once.
Yeah.
2016, I came twice. 2017, I came 4 times.
So since you moved to Ghana?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Your search, your quest, your awakening, all the spiritual, emotional, psychological reasons why you moved. How do you feel right now?
I feel great. Well, one of the things, there's a quote that says the journey is the reward. So a wise man will never stop learning. A wise man will never stop seeking.
Yeah.
You'll never just kind of rest on your laurels and say, I've learned all that I could learn and I'm done.
Right.
Right? So you're always open to learning more, to doing more, to discovering more about yourself. If it's anything that I would say, I am intentionally focused on mastering, and that is who is Diallo Sumbry, right?
And how are you doing that?
Well, I remain open. I'm having conversations like this with you.
You really think you couldn't have done this in the U.S.?
Done what?
The same discovery process. You couldn't have gone through that same process?
I think that I could have because there are people who are doing it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for me. It wasn't my path. I have some friends that I grew up with who are in that process right now in the U.S. I'm watching them discover who they are. That's their path. This ain't for everybody.
Why?
It's not easy, Charlie. It's not easy. But not only that, it's up to each individual person to find their unique path in life, right? One of the most significant moments in my spiritual training was I was having a conversation with my teacher. And he was asking me, well, what do you hear? And what I heard was different than what he heard. What made it significant is he said to me, nobody will hear clearer for you than you. That also let me know that he was for me. He wasn't trying to force his opinion on me and make me understand what he heard. He's like, well, what did you hear? Well, follow what you hear. Nobody, I've told my children, My daughter is a Christian. She got baptized. I'm not a Christian. I'm a traditionalist. But my daughter also knows that she was raised to understand what she feels is best for her and to go that way. My son recently took Shahada with some very close friends of mine, and he's exploring the Islamic faith. Has nothing to do with me being their father. Because if they've heard something that they feel is the best thing for them, then who am I to tell them it isn't? What kind of nonsense is that? And what effect does that have to do with my love and my care for them? What does that have to do with it? Because they believe something different? But all of this, see, all of these things ground a person. So if this is your grounding, then the way you do business is going to be different.
Yeah.
The way you deal with social impact is going to be different. If this is your grounding, if this is where you start at, the mistakes you make are going to be different, right? Everything that you learn in your process is going to be different but you have to really understand your path. We were talking before we got on air, you are following your path. It's not anybody else's path. If you look at Wodamaya, he followed his path.
Yeah.
So once you get to actually tune into who you are as a person, and you begin to hear clearly what's for you, you follow that path.
I was having a conversation with one of my sisters on this podcast, who you know very well. And she said one of the reasons why a lot of African Americans tend to move back when they come to Africa is because majority of them move for one. The first reason is for emotional reason. What's your view on that?
I think it just really depends on the person. Like, I've been watching people move here, and several words that have been coming up for many of them is healing. Some of that healing may have to do with just the trauma, as I mentioned, of being a black person in America. And then people have things that they've dealt with in their own personal life. Like, the hamster wheel is very real in America, right? So what is a hamster wheel? You go to school to get a degree. Most of the time, you take out a student loan to get that degree. And most people are paying that student loan until they retire.
Yeah.
So you get one degree, you get another degree. And then after you get these degrees, you get a job. And after you get a job, you get married. Then you have kids. Then you buy a house. But you're working, and you work until you're 65. And the only reason that you're working is to pay a mortgage. And your mortgage is normally 50 to 75% of the money you make each month. And then whatever money you have left, if you're able to save, invest, and do things like that, then you have something left over to take a 1-week vacation per year with your family. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a year and a half. If you're rich, maybe a little bit more. And this is what you do until you retire. And then once you retire, maybe you get another job where you can earn some extra money, right? Or you volunteer at a community center, or you do something like that, right? And then you die. But how many people actually figure out why they're here? You know how many people who are working jobs that they hate because you got to pay bills? What if you could live? I've often told my children, imagine if you can live and just be, and most of your days is discovering what you love. The only people who have that luxury, and I'm only calling it a luxury, is because there's only a limited number of people who have it, are wealthy people.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be wealthy in order for that to happen. Now, could I find that in the U.S.? Probably, I could have. But I'm inside of a system that's not really built for that to happen.
But that's the same system. And it's the same reason why a lot of Africans, young African youth, are doing what we call jakba, to go to the West.
Yes.
For that. The same system you described.
Exactly.
That's for you.
But they don't know. They don't know, bro.
But they come back 10 years after, 20 years after, and they can build a house here.
Yes, because
And to them, that's success.
It's just cash. So I often also tell my diasporan friends, if you grew up in Ghana, the way some of them grew up, you would want to go to America too. So you can't take your experience and the weight of your experience and put it on a Ghanaian, like, why do you want to go to America's race? They don't know none of that. They don't know what none of that is. They started fetching water at 2 and firewood at 2. And they had to do it in the morning, maybe 2 trips, maybe a mile or kilometer each. Some had to come home at lunch to do it. And then they had to do it in the evening. See, this is what happens when you kind of have an experience in a traditional village where you get to see life, right? Some had to share shoes or clothes. And the most of what you did is play Spa, which I was playing the other night and I really love, right? Or checkers. So with the advent of the internet, you see all of these other things that you can see in 4K, but it's not accessible to you. So yeah, if you grew up in Ghana and your parents either didn't make certain choices or didn't have the opportunity in Ghana to buy land, to do this, to make a better way for you, and you right? Because I keep telling people Accra is not Ghana and Ghana is not Accra. And the majority of people in Ghana don't live in Accra. They're scattered about. And as much as I agree with the conversation and the media push and the narrative to show that Africa is not all poor, I think it's now also becoming oversaturated because Africa is still not all rich. And what most people think about Ghana is what they see online about Accra, not Ghana, not the whole country. But I would too, because now we're just talking about economics. Now we're talking about the value of a dollar, because one of my dollar equals 11.5 of your CDs. And what can I buy with it? So if I'm deprived my whole life, if I'm operating from a mentality of lack, the mentality and the spirit of abundance is foreign to me. I don't even know how to think from a point of abundance. I don't even know how to think from a perspective of abundance.
Right.
So as a Black American, where a lot of African Americans who are moving to Ghana are having their challenges, mostly because they didn't do their hard work before they got here. The challenges that they're having are with utilities. My lights went out. Now for a Ghanaian, doom so is natural. How many people actually have generators? And if you have generators, how many of them have enough money
To fuel it all the time.
to fuel it all the time? So if Doomso is 48 hours, your generator can run 48 hours. So it's that. It's my water didn't work today. And it's like, woosah.
Right.
I'm getting through it. I moved here. And they all will say it's still worth it.
I see.
They all will say it's still worth it. But just look at what the challenge is. The challenge is running water, lights. Now, a Ghanaian who grew up, you've always had those challenges. Those things. So for them to be able to go to a place where, listen, every time I hit the light switch, there's light. Every time I turn on a faucet, there's water. Those things are going to have a different value to somebody that never had that. You understand what I'm saying? But a lot of them go, experience, tell me why they don't retire in America. Why do they come back here after they've earned the money? Peace. And they've experienced America. We haven't even gotten into the fact that this is a cash society, the cost of credit, the cost of money, and then how that affects your psychology, your spirituality, and your mentality in terms of credit and debt and how that works. All of these things, I think, come into play when you're talking about the psychology and the mentality of why most of us move here. A part of my job is helping us move here.
Yes.
It's sitting down. I have clients now where we sit and we have these conversations where it's like talk to somebody that's not going to lead you astray. Or if you feel like you don't need to talk to anybody, then buy a ticket, jump and grow wings, and come and experience it. But for those people who actually want to know how, or want to know it's possible and what the reality is on the ground, and for those people who might want to leverage your lived experience, you should contact somebody like me who can help you do that, without smacking you over the head with a heavy bill, right? But somebody who's been here and who's operated at a high level, right? So I've been to Jubilee House and met with a president, right? But I've also went to the market and had to buy my own asanka and tapoli. I've also had to negotiate in the market for my own salt and okra.
And these are the things that sometimes, right, when my Ghanaian people see you do that, when you have a green card or a passport, a citizenship, they're thinking, if I were you,
I would not be here.
I wouldn't be here. And they can't fathom why you're here.
Because again, it's different experiences. Because once you realize that cash and money is not the most valuable currency that you can hold, you put it in a different place. Now, in the same breath, I'm going to tell you one of my favorite quotes that says, money isn't everything, but it's up there with breathing. But it's not the most valuable currency. How many people from the diaspora have come here with money, but have been very bad with relationships and human interactions and left broke? Because what I've seen in Ghana is relationships matter.
And how long did it take you to realize that?
Well, see, so in 2014 when I came, I got off the plane and I went straight to Yame Betre. I never touched Accra. I didn't touch Accra until 2016. So I got a chance to see it on my very first trip up close. So when I go to Kafordria now, the market, when I go to Kafordria Market, every place that I shop is the same place where my teacher shopped. So he's been shopping there for 30 years, 20 years, however long.
Right.
I didn't go find new shops. I didn't go start looking for new stores and new shops. I just shopped at every place he shopped at. Why? Because now I get to leverage his relationship. Why would I go start from scratch? If somebody asks you, yo, do you know Diallo? Nah, he's in Coastal Henry. Yeah, I know him. And they like, oh, I'm trying to get with him. I want to talk to him about this. I want to do something with him. Them calling me direct, I don't know what it'll net them and how long it'll take them to get to me, even if you gave them my number.
Yeah.
But you calling me and say, yo, bro, I just met this. Tell them to hit me up. And if they say, Derek, okay, yo, what's up? You got my time. That's relationship. There's something that I say in my book, and I say, don't put the transaction before the relationship for people who are moving here. Because Americans are also used to kind of throwing around money. You'll see it in restaurants. Here, you get bad service in Ghana. Somebody take too long to bring the food. And the first thing somebody will shout is, I'm spending my money here.
Yep.
And the value of that money that you're spending may be a much lower currency than how you're speaking to the waitress. That restaurant owner and manager may be more willing to let you and all your money walk out the door and never come back again in exchange for you dealing with them in a different, polite way with regards to the situation, with regards to whatever the discrepancy you had was. So you can raise your voice, or you can just talk sensibly and relax and be like, well, how bad? And I had to go through that. I went through that.
I see. Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Connected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
I went through, goddamn, it's 2 hours. Where's my food? To, I just know where to go now, right? I know to call ahead. Like, so you learn it in a way because, you know, a lot of diasporans are coming here and they just keep banging their head up against this wall. And I'm like, you think that's going to change it, right? But then I also say, guess what? You think indigenous Ghanaians here don't have the same problems? Go through it too.
I've got some 2 research papers here, right?
Mm-hmm.
That talks about some of the common challenges that diasporans face when they move back to Africa. Now, I know you have a book, The Smart Ghana Repatriation Guide. Yep. And, you know, these are 2 amazing research papers done by several people. And some of the common challenges is bureaucracy, corruption, inconsistent system, cultural misunderstanding, romanticizing Africa, pricing exploitation towards foreigners, loneliness, and unrealistic expectations. Now, I want us to break this down.
We can go piece by piece. Some of them are directly
You've already spoken to them. Right. So, sum it up and then talk to me how you dealt with this.
Okay. Let's go bullet by bullet.
Right. So we have bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy.
Yep. Corruption. Inconsistent systems. So maybe you can talk about that. Yep.
So, one, when you say diaspora, there's a difference between a choice migrant, a Ghanaian family who chose to leave Ghana to go somewhere else and came back. They're part of the diaspora. Yeah. That's a different experience. Mm-hmm. You understand the language, you have the cultural custom, you understand the norm. You just got used to a different situation and you're returning. That's different from a historical diaspora who's totally new, doesn't speak the language, right? When I first came, I stood in line. And then I saw somebody walk to the front of the line. And I'm like, how he walked to the front of the line? Where I'm from, that ain't fair. You just bust in line in front of me, right? Okay. Then you're standing in line and the shop or the service that you want winds up closing. And you begin to feel like part of the reason why I stood in line and wasted this time is because too many kept busting in front. So now you've wasted my time. Now, so what do? Do you continue to stand in line? Do you write a petition? Do you complain to the management? Or do you find out how do you get to the front of the line? So when that happened to me, we're talking about bureaucracy, this, that, and the third. When in Rome, when in Cairo, right? So then I figured out, well, how do you get to the front of the line? So then at some point I said, I'm not waiting at the back of the line. I'm going to build a relationship to get to the front of the line. So once I figured out how to get to the front of the line, now I got to find somebody that I can trust where I don't got to get out the car. And then once I realize I ain't got to get out the car, I can get the service done without leaving my house. So you got to learn the system that it is. Unless it's your mission to try to change the whole thing, then go for it. That's not my mission. I got things to do, so let me learn the system. That's how you deal with that. Now, many people get here, and it takes them too long to discover that. Derek, you and I going into MTN to handle some business, and we get to the MTN, and there's a queue of 24 people outside and 30 people inside. We're still going to get our business handled without becoming number 56. People don't like to talk about it because they're like, oh, it's unfair. Nah, yeah, let it be unfair. But dog, I'm not waiting in line. I ain't got time.
Yeah.
And this is the way the system is set up. So let me join the system. I'm not even getting out the car. I'm sending somebody, boom, 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 make a scene. Tell the security, come open the door. Nana, come. They usher you and come sit. Oh, no, sit here. No, okay, I'm out. I got my job done, right? If I'm there versus I'm sitting at home and I'm like, hand the phone to the lady behind the counter. Madam, good afternoon. How are you? Have you eaten lunch today? What about your colleagues? I have some very important things I need to get done. Lunch is on the way. Please see my guy and do everything he needs to do. Okay, great. Yeah, I don't mind that. Because that's the way the system is. And I don't want to keep bumping my head up against the wall, fighting against it, and I can't change it. I'm not going to change it. I think people need to learn and get into the system. But be flexible enough so that as the system starts to change, you move with it. What's the next story?
That was solid. You killed it.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So the next ones we have is cultural misunderstanding. I think you kind of spoken about that.
Don't put the transaction before the relationship and learn cultural protocol. You want to do business and you walk into a room and greet from the left. They're going to look at you like, this person doesn't understand. When I was, I'll tell this story real quick. When I was first pursuing the Ghana Tourism Authority for the year of return. Yep. And I was with my, hopefully he doesn't mind me telling the story, Mr. Kwesi Ajaman, CEO of Ghana Tourism Authority. And I wanted to meet these people, CEO, this. So one day he's like, we're playing football at Legon. This is like a whole group of CEOs. So he's like, come to Legon. So I come, they play a 2-hour football game. I don't play football, so I'm walking around the track. So then after that, he's like, oh, we're going to go drive to this place. So then they go drive to this place somewhere where they all eating fufu and there's crates of beer and whiskey, this, that, and the third. So now everybody's drinking this. Now, mind you, I'm 4 to 5 hours in my day, and I'm like, it's like my time is money, right? What am I doing? So I'm patient. Then finally, he stands me up in front of the group of people, introduce me. And then once they do approve, it was this whole kind of verbal back and forth. He say something, they say it 3 times, boom, he's speaking tree, this Diallo, and then they all agreed in unison. Then he looked at me and said, go meet whoever you need to meet. That's the CEO of Data Bank, that's the CEO of this, that's the CEO of that, that's the CEO of that. That's cultural protocol, right? Meeting chiefs, right? You know how many bottles of whiskey I had to drink before I met with certain people? Because, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is definitely a thing. So you got to spend an hour or 2 sometimes just talking before you get to the business. And I know some Ghanaians who hate that. Like, this is rubbish. Let's just get to the business and be, me, I don't mind it. Sometimes you got to drink whiskey, and I figure they watching me. I figure they want to know if I can hold my liquor. They want to know if I'm going to start stuttering. They want to know if the quality of my conversation is going to change. We used to do the same thing in the U.S. Somebody new come around, you got to kind of, right? A lot of people do it on the golf course. You got to spend time with people. So cultural protocol is important.
Then we have romanticizing Africa.
So this is the thing about romanticizing Africa. It's valid. Every child, you can find the most abused child in the world. They still want their mom. They still want their dad. You find a child who was molested by their parents, abused by their parents, from 3 years old to 15 years old to 18 years old. As they begin their healing process, guess what? They still want their parents. They still love their parents. They can't stop loving them. So when you've taken a group of people and kidnapped them, that DNA, that ancestral memory, that ancestral spirit that's running through them will never allow them to not love and long for it. Right. Why do men love breast so much? After you stop suckling your mother, it fed you. It nurtured you. As a grown man, you're not getting any nutrients, but you still want it. And I know this is like a side conversation, but
I'm not going to look at him.
No, don't look at him because he'll take you there, right? But that's why it's natural. Yeah. You long for it. So our romanticism about Africa is because it's been kept away from us for so long. We've been lied to. Many people have been lied to about it. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my, Tarzan. I just watched this damn Tarzan movie the other day on Netflix, and I couldn't believe I was watching it, and I was like, this is crazy, right? Just this image of Africa and Africans. So you're longing for home. And the internet and AI and Afrobeats and Jollof and everything has made Africa more accessible. So now in December in Ghana and Afrofuture and Davido and Wizkid and Shatta and Black Sheriff have made everybody want to say, oh, Africa's cool.
Right.
All of the influencer videos and this, Maya getting a massage at the waterfall. All of these things have opened up the view of Africa, and it's cool. Because you've been kept away for so long, when you finally get here and you hear, Akwaba, my brother, my sister, now they done got your wallet. Right? Because you're too emotional. My guy, I'm from D.C. When I go to Baltimore, my head is on a swivel. I'm from D.C. If I move to Oakland, you don't think I'm going to find out who's in Oakland, talk to the people in Oakland, go visit Oakland first? I'm not going to do that. So don't come to Africa and lose your mind and common sense. It's crazy people everywhere. If you think all of the good things about our people are ancestral memory, you don't think the bad things are ancestral memory too?
Huh.
You don't think that come along with it? You think that got lost along the way? No. You'll lose your life, and you'll definitely lose everything you own. So you can't come, and then they will smile in your face for years. People will play you for years before they rob you. My brother, my sister, ha. And they just taking 10 CDs every day, and you don't know. You don't see. You can't tell. You're not even interested to know it. And then when you find out, you feel so betrayed. But then there were red flags all along the way. But you're so emotional because you romanticize that Africa is supposed to be this place that welcomes you with open arms. And when you come home, we're supposed to give you free citizenship, and we're supposed to give you 40 acres and a mule, and we're supposed to give you all of these things. Don't nobody owe you nothing. Nobody owes you anything. Oh, well, what about them? They sold us into slavery. Who? And then what makes you think you came from Ghana? Maybe you came from Congo. Go knock on Congo's door and say they should give you free citizenship. Like, my point is, this romantic idea about what it is, I understand it. It's natural because people are very emotional. But I hope that a part of my job, my life in this lifetime, coming on podcasts like this, writing a book like this, my next book that's coming out, the work that we do with the Adinkra group, and our newly launched Black Star Resource and Repatriation Center, where we help people actually move here. We have rooms, give people a place to stay, give them host staff, all of those things will help people check that emotional baggage at the door and just treat it like Baltimore. Sorry, Baltimore. But treat it like Baltimore. Bro, you're going up the street to Baltimore. Like, and they just speak another language. And they do speak another language in Baltimore. It's like, get this emotional thing out of your mind when it comes to real life living, or you'll lose everything.
What has been some of your experience?
Hey, let's finish the list.
I'm not going to.
No, come back. We'll come back to that.
All right. So the next one we've got is price exploitation towards foreigners.
It's not just towards foreigners. It's towards everybody, even Ghanaians.
Yeah.
It's the way that it is. I'm actually releasing a video on my platform with an elder who's one of my partners, and she had this dream of helping her people come home. She's Ghanaian. And she mentioned in this video about diaspora wars, and that being one of the reasons why people say, oh, those Africans don't like us because they're overpricing and they charging me. And she's like, I really wish people would spend some time getting to know a place first. Because if you talk to Ghanaians, they tell them the same thing. If you go to the market and you ask, how much is this? They're not going to give you the lowest price. They're not going to start off with the lowest price. If you pull up in your car, they see a crisp white shirt, they see a watch. Oh, how much for the mango? Oh, 50 CDs for one bowl. 50 CDs. Okay, give me 35. So, like, it's the nature of it.
Right.
I just think it's the nature of it. It's the nature of an open marketplace. And it's an informal marketplace. 90% of most of the businesses on the African continent are informal.
Yeah.
And if you're in an informal marketplace system, then it's negotiable. Learn how to negotiate. Stop complaining.
You've just said it as it is. Like, and it's the harsh truth.
I'm not going to keep banging my head up against this wall.
Because you're here to stay.
The wall will win every time.
Right. The next one we have is loneliness. They said that's also one of the reasons why a lot
You can be lonely in Ghana. Well, I get it. So What a lot of diasporans need to do, Black Americans, let me stop saying, because diasporans could be from the UK, could be from Caribbean, could be from, what are the things that make you feel at home? The other day I made a pot of collard greens, kale greens, the way that we make them Black American style with some smoked turkey neck, just Black American greens. And I put up this video about it.
Yeah.
The greens made me feel at home. Every now and then my wife, I need her to cook me a dinner, a Thanksgiving dinner. It don't even be Thanksgiving. I just need macaroni and cheese. I need candy yams, right? You can tell I'm hungry. I'm talking about food. But you have to find the things. I'm from D.C., love go-go music. Every now and then, for 2 weeks straight, I ain't listening to nothing but go-go music. Then you got to find your tribe. You got to find some other people that are here around you that may understand the same thing you understand, like the same kind of music, like the same kind of things. If not, you're going to be lonely, because I promise you, if you were lonely here, you were lonely back home.
Really?
If you were lonely here, you were probably lonely back home. You just didn't know it. You just didn't discover that you were lonely until you came here. But you were probably in a room full of people who spoke the same language, who you thought liked the same things, who you thought liked to do the same amount of things. Because if you're here, then why are you here by yourself? If you were in a room full of people who you were alike and you guys were together, then why are you here by yourself? It's got to be somebody who's willing to come with you. It's a phone call away. I mean, I don't want to criminalize loneliness like somebody's doing something wrong and say you're bad or that kind of thing. But I think you don't have to be. I think you have to apply yourself. And
there is community here?
There is community here, but I think beyond community, you got to be okay with yourself first. What are the things that connect you to being home? Find those things and bring them to your home first.
Now let's talk about some of your experiences you've had in Ghana and how people can, learn lessons from that.
First time on the Trocho. Almost got beat by the whole Medina market.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard that story.
Right? So you got to learn.
Yeah.
Hey, I took the key from the Trocho driver's car because I was sitting for 3 hours and it wouldn't move and I didn't understand. But I took the key. I'm like, well, and he wouldn't give me my money back. So I took the key from the ignition. Wrong move. But I had to have that experience to learn. I don't go to the market anymore. I'm sending a staff member to go.
What happened when you went?
Oh, the price is just, even the price I'm paying now, I negotiated. I know they could even still get it for less. My experience is a little bit different, I think, because I didn't come here for business. I didn't come here to escape anything. I didn't come here because I was just sick and tired of America and I had to leave. I came here because my spiritual path said, this is your destiny. That's it. That's it. I did not plan it. Like, I'm able to write the book and help people, and I'll tell people, don't do what I did. I just started coming. I was making great money. I could afford it. I could afford the plane ticket. I was doing really good. I took a serious pay cut when I moved here, and I had to decide that I could do better.
Have you realized that a lot of people have started moving back in the past few years?
Have I realized?
People have started going back to America?
Yes.
In the past
Some
few
people
years?
come, they can't. But again, it's okay. It's like, but if you tell yourself when you move that the worst that'll happen is I'll have to move back, and you're okay with that, it's okay.
Right.
Because you're on the journey.
But like, these are the same people you are trying to help settle in, right? So if the same people after a couple of years are moving back, then, I think we've just gone through some of the challenges.
I haven't had anybody that I've helped move back.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Connected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
I had a call with, one guy, because a friend of mine had asked me to help him, and I was like, yo, how much you got in your savings? He was like, $15,000. And I was like, it's not enough. Oh, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm like, that money going to be gone in 3 months, maybe 6. Like, I was trying to help him, but he came anyway. He's gone. You got $15,000, $20,000 in your savings. You're not going to live in East Legon. You're not going to be my neighbor and stay forever off that savings.
But can people actually live off their savings here?
But you have to have something to start.
Right.
When I say live off your savings, I mean to start. To give yourself a year boost.
And then do what?
And then figure it out. If you're just moving and you're going to figure it out while you're here.
Isn't that very risky?
It's very risky. So I've decided that I'm actually going to do something because, like, I'm in the tourism business. And tourism is an incredible business. You can make a lot of money if you do it right. And if you can build a reputation, right? So My company has built a reputation where we do large groups, but our minimum is one. Our minimum is one, but in January I did 500 people. So that word gets around. It's like, yo, I want to take a large group of people. They say, call Diallo. I've just decided that I'm actually going to do a class and I'm going to create about 10 agents. If you want to move to Ghana, even if you don't know what you want to do, but you want to figure out how to sustain yourself, I'm going to offer people an opportunity to learn tourism, and I'm going to show them how they can do one trip per quarter that will sustain them for the year. One trip per quarter.
Well, it's interesting we are speaking about business and what to do when you're here, because another paper I've got right here in front of me says that, so most people that move to Ghana and many parts of Africa, 81% of them become business owners.
81%.
81%.
Yes, because there's a lot of challenges, there's problems. You're not going to get a job here. The salary's not going to be sufficient. We always say you don't move to Ghana to get a job. You move to Africa to create jobs. Unless you're working for a large corporation, unless you're working for the State Department or some type of big NGO,
Yeah.
right, where you're going to get your normal salary, right? Because if I compare any Ghanaian salary to the same position in the U.S. salary, of course it's going to be different. Now, where people make mistakes is you come here with that Western equal opportunity mindset, and then you think it's unfair that you're not paying somebody a U.S. salary. So you decide to give your staff U.S. salaries, and then you're broke in 6 months because the market won't bear it. You just can't afford it. You're not, and depending on your industry, you're not going to make enough money to do that. People don't like to talk about it, but most of the people in Ghana who are making money, one of the biggest benefits that you have is low-cost labor. That's why you can put up all of these houses in East Lagona and this, that, and the third. There's no union saying you got to pay your cement guy this much. You got to pay your electrician paying this much. You got to do this much. You don't got to wait a year and a half for your permit. You don't got to do all that.
That's the same thing the workers are complaining about.
Yes.
What they are saying is that your pay is not enough.
Right.
And that's the reason why a lot of them are also trying to look for money to travel abroad. Because if they are working in the US, then they will make the dollar and be able to come and build a house.
Yeah, but you're in a different market. The US ain't got open source, bro. There's no open source in the US. It's a different financial market. How can I give you a US salary if I'm not making US dollars all the time? And if the expenses and all of that are different, you still pay 22% VAT in Ghana. So when you look at the market, you just can't do it. People can try. It's not going to work. 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 You have to be making over 500% profit to be able to do that here in Ghana, to really be able to say, I own a business in Ghana. I'm operating a business in Ghana, and I can sustain myself heavily in all that I have to do. And I'm going to pay you on par with the U.S.
What I mean, look, even if it's not with the US, it could be much better than we currently see.
Then some people do. Yes. But some people do, some people don't. For example, my staff get paid more than the average, I'm sure. I'm sure they do. And they get tips, so I'm sure. So they're looking like this, damn, this person is a banker. This person is a banker. They work 10-hour days every day, Monday through Friday. And I might have made twice as much as them on a 10-day tour. Even when I'm hiring workers for building projects or things like that, carpenters, electricians, this, that, and the third, I'm going to pay you this rate. I might give you some money for food, and I might even give you a place to stay. Depends on where it is, right? Now, will your work quality equal
To that.
to that? Is the quality of what I'm getting equal to what I'm paying and what I'm doing?
Well, how about more pay or better pay to improve the quality of their work?
Yes. So you can give a positive incentive. My experience in Ghana with positive incentives is that you have to show me first, and then you have to be consistent. If you show me the increased quality of the work, and this agreement is when I get the increased quality, I give you more, and you can maintain that, then I'll maintain this.
Right.
But my challenge and my experience in Ghana hasn't been that. It's been very inconsistent, hard to maintain, hard to show up on time, hard to show up every day.
And how do you deal with it?
You get somebody new. You just don't get frustrated. Now, for any other project I will ever do, I will always have 2 general contractors and 2 sets of everything on standby. You pay a little bit more up front, but they on standby. My brother, you think you won't come to work and slow my project down? The next crew is waiting. So try me and don't
That's
come.
how I
You'll
do
be
it.
fired. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you don't, you're dead.
Because you still got to work. You know,
Still
the
gotta
work
work.
has to move on. right? And especially when people are paying you to deliver the work. So it's interesting we're speaking about tourism as one of the companies you run. The research paper says that African Americans who return to Africa mostly succeed in these businesses. And number 1 is tourism. 2, real estate, media, hospitality, consulting, diaspora services, and cultural businesses.
Tourism mainly because you understand what your people are going to look for. Like, we normally don't really apply for like open proposals, or let's say a group of people want to come to Ghana and they put out a proposal.
Yeah.
And they send it to different companies and they say, send me a proposal. So we've gotten a few of those, and the people just flat out tell me, like, you were more expensive, but I chose you because you understood. What does that mean? It could just mean that the way my document is formatted, the way it's spaced, the way it's written, that training lets them know that there's something that I understand, that I called them back on time, that I emailed them back on time, that I did certain things. And it felt more realistic.
Right.
In any business in the world, the worst thing people do is underprice themselves because they think it's going to get them more business. But when the psychology of a human being actually looks at low price as cheap and unreliable, as opposed to I'd rather pay the mid or the highest because I believe I'm going to get the quality I deserve because I paid for it. So some people just undercut themselves by trying to go cheap.
That's a sales tip right there. Diallo, what's the biggest lesson you've learned living in Ghana?
Has to be relationships. Manage your ambitions and your expectations. You know, one of the things about being here, being who I am, being in different spaces, and I've had to accept to a certain degree that I've become a public figure, right? And everybody's like, oh you're 901. So you named yourself 901, so Bako Pet. So what do you mean, right? Is that you have to manage your ambitions and your expectations. And you have to stay open.
Yeah.
Like, you just really have to stay open. You never know what will come. Like, you have to really be grounded. You will be tested. You absolutely will be tested. You absolutely will be tested.
Are you happy in Ghana? Or happier in Ghana?
Well, yeah, I wasn't unhappy when I left. In general, I'm a happy person.
Okay.
Just like,
has Ghana made a difference to that?
Oh yeah, I'm free. I feel great. Hashtag no more winters. When I first moved here, I was like, yo, I don't like the snow. Like, it's some simple things. I don't want to be cold. Outside cold. Now turn my AC on 16.
I turn off the AC.
But I don't want to wake up to 12 feet of snow, the blizzard temperature weather. I don't want that. And I love the opportunity. Again, I love the ability to be in a place where I'm relatively safe and I can go out of my way to find my way. I have the freedom to explore. I have the freedom to figure out what I want to do. And I'm not living to pay bills. I'm not here just to pay a mortgage. I'm not living just to pay bills. Even though I have family back home that I support, it's not just to do that. Like, there's a deeper meaning. There's a deeper purpose. I've often always said that I don't even know, like, people are like, well, is Ghana the place where you're always going to live and be? I'm like, I don't know. But while I'm here, I'm open to being here. But it'll be a place that I'm always connected to. When I tell people that I can live in Lagos on an island, they think I'm crazy. I'm like, no. I'm probably the only person that goes to Lagos to get away from Ghana. And when everybody in Nigeria is coming to Ghana to get away from Lagos, right? I still love Senegal very much so, right? The home of the original jollof rice, the food, the people, the culture.
Don't do that.
It is. I tried to sneak it in there.
Don't do that.
I tried to sneak it in there.
I heard it.
But
man,
I mean, it's you know, it's how you measure success. Like, what is success?
Yeah.
You know, what is success? You know, so it's like, I understand that money is not the most valuable currency, but I also understand how important it is. So I don't want to demonize or degrade the value of money as if, you don't need it. But what you going to do? But I understand that the moment that I stopped working for money, I started making so much more money. And I started working for purpose. And I started working for alignment. And I started working for service. And I started working to deliver the best product. And I started working because I wanted to help people.
You know, I know someone who moved to Ghana on the same, spiritual discovery. And she's gone back because she couldn't work out her finances properly. So now she's had to go back.
Listen, I've been broke more than twice. It's not about that. If it's in you, it's in you. And if it's not, it's not. Like, at some point, I'm going to really, like, sit down with somebody and really go in. But it's like, on your journey, you have to be able to weather those storms.
Like, really, what have you discovered, Diallo, about yourself, our people, that makes you so connected to Ghana?
I honestly don't think it's just Ghana. I think I would have been the same no matter where I landed. I think it's me. It's the intentionality of who I am and where I want to be and why I'm here, and it's ownership. So, I've gotten in different conversations with different Ghanaians who say, "Oh, you foreigners, this." I said, Ghana is more mine than it is yours because I do more for the country than you do. So you sit down. I don't care what language you speak. You think it's for you because you were born here. What are you contributing? What are you doing for us? Then they even get mad because I'm saying us and I'm including me in the us. I say, you know how many people I feed every day? How many people do you feed every day? So what are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Right? It's like, no, you can't. And I would have been the same way anyway. Whether I was in Nigeria, it would have been the same. It was the same when I was in Senegal. Well, I've been in Sierra Leone, I'm on my mission. I'm in alignment. What I'm doing is intentional. It's authentic. And it's based out of my love for my people. The reward is abundance. The reward is abundance. The reward is wealth as you build it. Because we haven't even really started talking about, we didn't really get into a full business conversation. But, like I said, I've been broke a couple times here. You could be asset rich and cash poor. And then you just got to figure out how to manage.
Because this country, you need a lot of cash.
Yes, until you get your cash back up, right? You could have $50,000 coming in a month, but if your bills are $49,500, then what does that mean? It means you got some motion, and it means you can maintain and you can sustain. Where I'm going 2026 and beyond, and where I believe the diaspora mind needs to be is you got to come here and figure out a way to earn CDs, bro. Even if you're working remotely for somebody else and you got a check coming from the U.S. and you're doing all of these things and you're doing all of that and you got dollars coming in, if you're living here, I think you have to figure out a way to earn CDs, meaning participate in the local economy.
Right.
What business, what are you invested in? What are you doing that's bringing you 1,000 CDs a day? Because when the first time somebody told me, I thought they were putting their own limitations on me. No, they were giving me wise advice. First time somebody said, I said, don't tell me small, because you can't afford it. I could do this. Until you do it and go broke, and then you go back to them and be like, oh, I see what you meant. Slow down.
I think some people come with a bit of ego, right?
A lot of ego. Again, we used to come and waving our wallet around, but we ain't never had no real money because most of our life is credit. It's not cash. So I'll be telling people, when you see those Ferraris and those Rolls Royces paid up, they paid for in cash. Not only are they paid for in cash, they might be paid for 1.5 times over because somebody had to pay the duty. When you see that house and that person owned that house, however they built it, even as I'm consulting and telling people here, although we do have some new diaspora mortgage programs coming up, but it's not a traditional U.S. mortgage. You're not paying 3 to 5% down. You still got to pay 60, 70, 80% down, and that has to be cash. And then nobody's still giving you a 30-year mortgage. You don't have 30 years to pay it off. So even if you put 80% down and you got 20% left, that 20% got to be paid off in 2 or 3 years. But I also understand that the banks in Ghana just don't have the liquidity to sustain a heavy mortgage program. The banks will go broke.
What if the people are going to come to Africa, right, and then have the same mortgage systems, the same sort of systems that you described that you had to get away from. If we have the same systems here, then what's the point of moving to Africa?
I don't necessarily know if it's just that. And in order for us to get those systems, we got to fill a lot of gaps. We got to regain trust. We got to fill a lot of gaps, and we need a lot of infrastructural improvement before those systems could even sustain themselves and operate. So even if you had that mortgage system here, and you could pay 3 to 5% down, you can get a mortgage, you can do all of that. Because Africa's going to get to that point at some point. We just don't know when or where. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. You're still a part of the majority.
Right.
You got to understand the value of seeing black people on every billboard. That psychological concept people don't understand that here because you grew up seeing all black people. Ghanaians probably tired of seeing black people. They want to go see some other people. I've been around these people my whole life. The value of seeing black people everywhere around you, for those of us from the West, has a high value, man. You'll see people saw it. I was on a plane. It was all black people. It was a black pilot. It was a black crew. It was a black this. It was a black that because it's not normal, and it feels good. It feels good.
Nana One.
Yes, sir.
And you can go to nana1.com. All the details are on there. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
I don't know about you.
No, I love it.
But I did this for me.
I don't mind.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
did this for me.
I don't mind.
You know, this is the reason why getting perspective from other people is so important. Because sometimes somebody can say something and you've never thought about it that way. Now, all of a sudden, your explanation brings everything into perspective for me, right? And it comes back home. And I'm like, yeah, never thought about it like that. So thank you. I've enjoyed this. We have somebody else in the room. How was the conversation, sir?
It was great.
Awesome. All right. So to my viewers and to my listeners, thank you so much. If you made it to the end, I'd love to know in the comments. Don't leave me hanging. And you can hype this conversation, share this conversation to the next brother or sister who needs to hear this. For anybody that is thinking of moving to Ghana or many parts of Africa, I think this, for sub-Saharan African countries, this will transcend across. It's not just for the Black Americans. For my other people, you can also enjoy this conversation. So share it across. And my name is Derek Abaite. I'm out.